Hey guys, today we've got an awesome video here from Chris from Vegas. He recommended this from the Wrestling Bios channel. Awesome wrestling channel. And this video is the attack of the Hulk Hogan clone. Now obviously Hulkamania, there was nothing bigger than it in the 80s and early 90s. So obviously everyone wanted to get a piece, but in order to not get sued, people were putting lookalikes in their video games. Yeah, so basically they could capitalize on the popularity. So we're going to have a look at some of them today.
For things like anime and video games. Today I'm going to focus on video game Hulk Hogan
Oh,
knockoffs, and I'll be totally honest here. I got a ton of research help, mainly from the folks discussing this topic on the Critical Club forums, a forum dedicated to Fire Pro Wrestling. So all credit goes to these guys who dug deep into gaming history to find these Hulk Hogan wannabes.
Yeah, I was thinking Wrestle War straight away would be in it because the Japanese version actually has Hulk Hogan on the cover. I don't know how they didn't get a cease and desist letter for that. I'm also thinking Hawk from Vendetta might be in this, but I'm not sure. We'll see. Oh, Pro Wrestling.
This is one I'm sure many of you are already aware of. Giant Panther from Pro Wrestling on NES. The game was released in Japan in October '86 before making its way to the US and Europe the following year. The character Giant Panther is 100% inspired by Hulk Hogan, what with his blonde hair, his hot dog leathery tan, and his yellow trunks.
Yeah, okay. Fair play, look, you got the yellow boots there, the yellow hair, the leathery skin, which is, I think, the biggest disclosure that they're trying to mimic Hulk Hogan. But it did fly under my radar a little bit, because just as much as his leathery skin, nothing screams Hulk Hogan more than the golden mustache as well, which he doesn't have. That's pretty much the only thing that they didn't do on this character. You're right. I mean, well played.
Notice that a lot of doppelgangers in this video will only have Hogan's balding head and maybe some yellow-colored attire. But really, that was all you needed back in the day for people to realize that, hey, that's Hulk Hogan, brother.
I'll admit, I missed that one a little bit. The KC Colossus, alright.
Championship Wrestling was released on the Apple II, with ports eventually being made for the Atari ST and Commodore 64. You can see from this cover right here that Mr. KC Colossus was inspired by Hulk Hogan.
You know what? He kind of looks a little bit more like an aging superstar Billy Graham to me. But the fact that a lot of people feel like Hulk Hogan mimicked Billy Graham for his gimmick, kind of... I mean, yeah.
And when you boot the game up, you get this guy who I think was supposed to be Ric Flair. Anyway, KC Colossus is without a doubt a Hulk Hogan ripoff. His little quote before matches is, "I'll rip your ears off and feed them to you," which, okay, fair enough. It's not quite eating your vitamins and saying your prayers.
Yeah, that's
but
like
I guess
Billy
they couldn't be
and...
too shameful when ripping off the immortal Hulk Hogan. The game sucks, by the way. No need to rush out and pirate this one.
Yeah, those isometric wrestling games back in the day, unfortunately, never really played too well. I mean, the NES WrestleMania Challenge was okay, but WCW on Super Nintendo, that was kind of whack. And then the Fire Pro Wrestling game, some of them had that style, but they're an acquired taste and have a big learning curve. I guess it just depends what you're into.
Pro Wrestling on Sega Master System, also known as in Japan. This one features one of the weirdest pieces of video game cover art known to man. I mean, just look at it. It speaks for itself. This game features a tag team known as the Crush Brothers, and apparently this is supposed to be ripping off Hulk Hogan and Stan Hansen. This one also features Hawk and Animal ripoffs, the Orient Express, though not the Orient Express you know.
Okay, well, let's have a look here. The Mad Soldiers. Okay, one of them kind of looks like the Barbarian, I think. The Orient Express. I mean, I don't know. I can't really see myself, personally. I mean, I think they're supposed to look familiar without actually mimicking anybody. If they are supposed to mimic anybody, it seems a bit more subtle in this case.
And while playing the game, I managed to get counted out while standing in the ring. So
that does kind of look like Stan Hansen. That really does look like Stan Hansen. There's not a Japanese one here.
Round 2 Pro Wrestling for the Super Cassette Vision. What the fuck is the Super Cassette Vision? Well, it was a video game console released in both Europe and Japan in 1984, developed by toy company Epoch. From what I gather, they made Pong consoles before creating the cassette vision in 1981, and then they brought out the Super Cassette Vision in 1984. Here's Ron 2 Pro Wrestling running on the ancient hardware, and here is Madison, another Hulk Hogan lookalike going up against a Road Warrior lookalike.
I don't know, man. That kind of, to me, it looks like Hulk Hogan going up against Mr. T. Now, the only thing about this Hulk Hogan that doesn't look like Hulk Hogan is with the blonde hair and the mustache. The red pants are sometimes right, but I think they should have gotten the yellow shin guards. Or opposite, the yellow pants and the red shin guards. Either way, I think they did just enough to change it. Plus, they made this guy look like Hulk Hogan if he was like your grandpa at the cookout. Either way, pretty close, but it looks like Hulk Hogan and Mr. T to me. Let me know what you think in the chat.
Maybe. You can't tell the intentions of these developers when all they're doing is trying to create clones.
It's fun to play.
That referee's having a great old time though. I bet he has sore legs after this match.
He's doing
Doesn't
squats.
look great, honestly. As a matter of fact, it looks janky as hell, and no, I haven't played this one. But still a nice little curiosity, if nothing more.
Reminds me of Matt Mania a little bit.
Grudge Match was released in arcades back in 1989, and it has one of the most bizarre promotional flyers I've ever seen in my life. No doubt one of you absolute madmen will know who these people are, and I'm sure you'll give me a full breakdown of their lives and their greatest accomplishments, but it's still weird and it doesn't want to make me play the game.
Like
anyway, our Hulk Hogan clone goes by the name of Cyclone, which is rather appropriate. And yes, he may be a ginger and he may have a ginger moustache, but this character is definitely inspired by old Wood from the Hood.
Yeah, I didn't know about this game's existence, unfortunately. Maybe I'll have to look through my MAME library, see if I can give it a crack myself. So far, I can't really see the similarity. I do disagree on this one. I think if it's supposed to be a Hulk Hogan clone, the moment you look at it, you should be like, Hulk Hogan. I'm not in this case, but I mean, let me know in the chat.
Also a character named Road Dogg in this game, and while of course he has absolutely no connection to the Road Dogg we all know, he still kinda looks like him in a way. It's like Grudge Match was predicting the future. This one was developed by Yankee Game Technology, and they bless gamers with one of the most horrific attract mode intros known to man. Some poor bastard just got his head smashed on the mat, and I think he needs hospital treatment ASAP.
It's a pretty cool
This game
bar.
is also janky as hell. It's one of those games where you can add credits to add more time when the clock reaches 0, but swear to God, some opponents walk away from you and you're forced to add more credits if you want to continue playing.
This kind of looks a lot like Konami's Matt Mania, I think it was as well. But you see that guy in the orange. I don't see Hulk Hogan at all. I mean, I don't ever remember seeing Hulk Hogan in full tights. And that orange hair and headband, he looked more like a biker to me. I mean, he looks like the guy that Arnold Schwarzenegger's going to go up to as a Terminator and steal the clothes, the boots, the motorcycle, and whatever fucking else. But anyway... Oh, I love this. This one's a blatant... Okay.
This is another one you might be familiar with. Titan Morgan from Sega's Wrestle War. Originally released in arcades in 1989 before getting a Mega Drive port in 1991, Wrestle War was unique, seeing as it was made for vertical displays, and they tried to translate this over for the home consoles, which would, of course, get played on a standard TV. Wrestle War's actually a decent game. Some of the characters are pretty crazy, but here's Titan Morgan in all his glory.
Yeah. I still play this on the Sega Genesis. I mean, this was my first game, and I still play this as a bonus game on the stream. The only reason I don't do it more often is not because it's not good. It's because I get carpal tunnel trying to rub those buttons really quick to do all the moves. It is a genuinely fun game to play. But, I mean, look at this. I mean, it's obvious it's supposed to be a Hulk Hogan. You got all the colors there. You got the mustache, the hair. Slightly different look, but, you know, I mean, connect the dots. I mean, they even got the red shin guards there, you know what I'm saying? Now, as I said, the Japanese version of this game was really pushing their luck, because if you got the international version, like in, I guess you could say in Australia or the United States, you'd get that movie star looking guy, you know, with the muscles and the black hair and everything. But if you got the Asian version of this, which I did, it was my first Genesis game, my dad imported it, it had Hulk Hogan on the cover. Like, they were not even hiding that it was Hulk Hogan. And so I don't know how they got away with that, but I still thought that was the coolest thing ever.
He's got a bit more hair than Hulk Hogan, so already he's got a lot going for him. If you're in any doubt at all that this is indeed a Hulk Hogan ripoff, then check out the Japanese cover for the game.
Yeah, here it is.
Yeah,
Boom.
that should settle any arguments, really. It even
There
says
it is.
Python Power on his bandana. Other folks you'll notice on the Japanese cover include Bruiser Brody, Road
Oh, it
Warrior
is too.
Hawk, and Abdullah the Butcher.
Oh,
Though
yeah, one of the Road
the
Warriors
US and
was in the
European
back.
cover got this guy instead. He's an accountant, a very ripped accountant who likes to bust heads and do your taxes.
I don't know. I kind of looks like James Caan or something when he was young, if he's like 450 pounds ripped of steroided muscle. I don't know. What do you guys think?
Released in 1989 for the PC Engine by developer Cream. Yeah, Cream. Bullfight Ring No Hasha is a boxing game, and as we all know, Hulk Hogan was once heavyweight boxing champion of the world, so he definitely deserved his spot here. Known as Duggan in the world of boxing, the Hulkster ducks, weaves, and gets knocked the fuck out with the best of them in this pretty unique boxing game, which also features a mode where you can take to the streets and beat up criminals of the underworld. I don't understand it either, but I do like it.
Didn't they have a game like that on Neo Geo? What? I've forgotten what it's called, so I'm not going to pause too long. But yeah, they had this game on Neo Geo where I think you beat up fools on the street to start with, and then you'd have a boxing match. If you remember the name, let me know.
This one also has a Muhammad Ali ripoff, and as far as boxing games go from this era, it isn't too bad. But you'll put the controller down after a solid 5 minutes, I reckon.
Yeah.
I'm still waiting for a good boxing game since Fight Night Champion.
Yeah. Look, that looks subtle, but you can tell it's supposed to be Hogan. You can tell.
This one's debatable, in my opinion.
All right, that's obviously supposed to be Sergeant Slaughter. You know what? That kind of looks like a hybrid of Sergeant Slaughter and Kama Mustafa. Like, you got Kama Mustafa, Papa Shango's body there, and Sergeant Slaughter's head.
Sergeant Slaughter's Mot Wars was developed by Beam Software and published by Mindscape. And I don't know about you, but I don't think I want to be a competitor in Slaughter's Mot Wars because this venue looks a bit scary. There's homeless people sleeping, there's people making out, and that ring doesn't look too safe either.
Yeah,
Anyway,
Roadhouse.
this bozo's named Slim, and some folks have stated that this is another Hulk Hogan ripoff. I say it's debatable due to the full beard.
Dude, look at him. He looks like a freaking lumberjack or a hillbilly. Look, yeah, fair enough, he's blonde. But that's it. The skin's not leathery enough. There's no, like, Hulkamania red and yellow there. I'm sorry, I'm not buying it. That don't
head
look
of
like
hair
Hogan.
in the basic yellow tights, but I wanted to include this one because, well, it's a Sergeant Slaughter game. You do eventually work your way up and you do get to fight in actual wrestling arenas, and you'll be able to fight other bozos such as Irock San and Mr. Jazz.
Well, that kinda
Not
looks
sure
like,
what's going on with
co-op
Mr.
a
Jazz's
little bit.
ring gear, but it looks like he's having a good time. The game is absolutely terrible, by the way, and check this out. Your character even gets auctioned off to a bunch of perverted onlookers. It's pretty dark.
Yeah, it does look pretty bad. I'd love to try it just to make a review myself.
Not a
though.
lot to say about this one because it's another pretty awful game, but Takedown was released on Commodore 64 and on MS-DOS. Two characters could get away with calling themselves Hulk Hogan ripoffs, and that's the Viking and Mr. Cool. Viking looks like Hogan before he rips his shirt off, at least in the Commodore 64 version, while Mr. Cool is Hogan mid-match without his wrestling boots.
Yeah, I could see the one with the singlet. I could see a little bit of Hogan and Billy Graham again. And, I mean, yeah, I think the guy in the ring right now is supposed to be Hogan. It looks like he's fighting, what's his name? That guy from Final Fight, what's his name? Roper or whatever his name is. But, I mean, the hair seems off. It looks like he's wearing a eye patch and I don't know. It looks a
Also
little bit
included
off.
in this game is Saddam Hussein, so if you ever wanted to drop the leg on this jabroni like a real American, then now's your chance.
Freaking weird.
Again, the Hogan lookalikes here might be a stretch, but I just wanted to show you guys some weird wrestling games too.
Yeah,
There's so
man.
much bollocks out there yet to be explored.
Yeah, gaming was like the Wild West in the 80s, bro. We've come a long way.
Developed by Natsume, who would become kings of knocking off real-life wrestlers, and published by Jellico, Tokon Club was released only in Japan in 1992 for the NES, and we've got quite a few knockoff wrestlers here. The Hogan clone is named Iron Lips.
That doesn't look like Hogan. If anything, that definitely looks more like Stan Hansen. I mean, not entirely like Stan Hansen, but at least with a stocky build, the type of hair and the mustache. I don't get Hulk Hogan out of that at all. I disagree on this one.
Which obviously plays off the name Thunderlips from Rocky 3. And along with the Hulkster, we've got rip-offs of Giant Baba, Abdullah the Butcher, and the Road Warriors. The characters look very tiny and very cute. Natsume did know how to make
Maybe
wrestling games that kind of deviated away from the norm, even if...
Okay, yeah, fair enough. That guy up the top, that does kind of look like Abby Abdullah the Butcher. Okay, I can see that. That's one guy that I can connect the dots to in this game.
They did borrow a few things from the Fire Pro series, and this one isn't bad at all, especially when compared to other offerings on the NES. Loads of cool little animations, and the music is very good.
Another isometric wrestling game, as I said, they're hit and miss. They always look nice though. Oh, well, here it is.
If you're ever in the mood to discover old school fighting games that you've maybe never played before, you should definitely look up games released for the Neo Geo AVS and MVS. I'm no expert in the field at all, but while randomly browsing Neo Geo games I legally obtained from a legitimately dodgy torrent file, I ended up finding one of my favourite fighters ever named Breaker's Revenge. So it can sometimes pay to load up random games that you too obtain from perfectly legal dodgy torrent files. Anyway, World Heroes is another fighting game released on Neo Geo and later released on Super Nintendo. And this game featured a character...
Yeah, that looks pretty Hulk Hogan, doesn't it? I mean, they haven't got the red and yellow there, and maybe not even the leathery skin. But, I mean, he kind of looks like Hulk Hogan if he was like a chiseled Michelangelo statue, you know what I mean? Like, if you were to get like a chiseled Michelangelo-style Hulk Hogan statue to honor him and immortalize him forever, I mean, this is probably what it would look like in statue sculpture form.
Named Muscle Power. Muscle Power is portrayed as a pro wrestler. He takes the real American side of Hulk Hogan and turns it up to 100 by wearing Stars and Stripes themed gear. And his moveset includes wrestling moves while his opponents set him on fire and shoot missiles at him and stuff. You'll find many other knockoff characters within the Neo Geo library. Fighting game fans will know the story of Art of Fighting's Ryo character and Street Fighter's Dan character. But again, I'm not really qualified to talk about all this, so look up other creators who know their stuff. While he doesn't necessarily look like Hulk Hogan, Alex was indeed inspired by the Hulkster.
Okay. Don't see it. I remember Alex, so we've all played Street Fighter 3, at least most of us have anyway. I'm sorry, I don't see it. Look, he's got long blonde hair. He looks incredibly young. He almost looks like he's, I mean, I don't know, being that this is, you know, a Japanese developed game, he probably even looks like he could even be half Japanese, half American. I don't know much about Alex. The headband is different. He's just kind of got like that movie star look about him. Doesn't look anything like Hulk Hogan to me. Doesn't even have the leathery skin. So far at this point in time, I do not agree at all. But let's hear the explanation.
He's a pro wrestler, he's from America, and the most telling example we've got is the fact that he and Hugo recreate the Hogan vs. Andre WrestleMania 3 stare down before their matches.
Okay, I'm not gonna lie, that is pretty good. And Hugo was originally called Andre, obviously before I think Capcom probably got sent a nasty letter in private. Because why they just all of a sudden changed it to Hugo seems pretty fishy to me. But I'm not going to lie, that was pretty cool.
I'm not going to spend much time on Alex because this is one people already know about and I wouldn't necessarily call him a total knockoff. He was probably just a big Hulkamaniac growing up, but now he totally regrets it.
Oh, I remember this.
Another weird one right here. Arm Champs 2 was a unique arcade game where you'd compete in arm wrestling competitions against a variety of characters. It had an actual arm sticking out of the machine, and while you could have a lot of fun with this if you used your imagination...
Yeah, so I used to play this at the Maya Centre in Brisbane in the mid-90s. So what you're supposed to do is put your elbow on a pad so you couldn't cheat because you had to put the pressure on the pad so it knew that your arm was on it. And then you'd gradually go against increasingly harder opponents trying to push this big steel arm down from one side to another like in a real arm wrestling match. The game kind of became obsolete, I think, because there was clever ways to like fool the machine in thinking that you were playing legitimately and you could actually cheat. So you could go up against the hardest opponents, put something on the pad or get a friend to help out and then just use both hands to drag the arm across, if that makes sense. However, if you were playing this game legitimately, it was a lot of fun and a genuine tester streak. So, hey, a lost relic, but I really like this game.
You're technically trying to arm wrestle a metal machine, and that means you're eventually going to get embarrassed in front of your mates. Anyway, The Rock is in this game, and it's not the jabroni beaten pie eating Rock we all know and love. It's this guy right here, kind of a mashup of the Road Warriors and Hulk Hogan.
Yeah, I can see that. I was about to say, kind of looks like a hybrid of one of the Road Warriors and Hogan. Yeah, fair play. Obviously supposed to look like a pro wrestler, but not distinctly one or the other.
Also pulls off some crazy faces, and I'd be terrified to arm wrestle this guy. And just on the subject, I'd be terrified to play this game because imagine it malfunctions and it ends up snapping your arm or something. Still a very unique
Yeah,
arcade
true.
game, and it's a shame we don't see
that.
games like this anymore. Very creative, and it has many, many uses. Oh yeah, and Saddam Hussein's in here once again.
He wasn't that hard to beat either, by the way. Even my skinny ass freaking 14-year-old could beat him.
It's one thing to create characters that kind of resemble real life people. It's another thing to give them dodgy names that also resemble real life people. Sergeant Slammer, the Kentucky Tornado, Brutus Plum Cake.
Okay.
What a plum cake is, I don't know. Insane.
You know, I love when games do this, though. When they mix the names around just enough to not be sued, but you know exactly who they are. I remember when I used to play the Formula 1 games back in the day, not going too much off topic. I used to like that they played around with the names just enough to not get sued, but you knew what drivers that each character was replicating, if that made sense. I'm all for it. And Steam still does this to this day in various sporting games and whatnot. But yes.
Hussein.
I love it.
I can't believe this guy's been featured in 3 games so far. Sean Mickey, the Irish Shawn Michaels, The Last Warrior, and we've also got Bulk Dogan. They didn't even try here, did they? Iron Lips was more original than this. Bulk fucking Dogan. We also get a Sean Mooney ripoff, giving us some key information about upcoming matches.
Dude, this is great. Man, I really miss the Sean Mooney videos from back in the day, especially the late 80s to early 90s, I think, when he was always hosting those, like, home Coliseum videos. I used to have, like, the Hogan tapes and stuff like that. It was always fantastic. He was always such a great part of the show. Doesn't get talked about enough, but it was a good memory for me as a kid.
That key information being a total waste of time. The match begins, and yeah, it's an Amiga game, alright. I only really got into Amiga games after picking up the A500 Mini, and while there are some good games for it, something I noticed is that yes, the games do generally look better than what else was available at the time, but a lot of the games just don't play too well.
Yeah, and you know, the thing with Amiga games as well is, like, they're always 10 out of 10 ahead of the game graphically. At least in the 80s they were. The sound, top notch. But when it came to gameplay, look, there's only a handful of Amiga games that I remember fondly for being fun to play. And I got the Mini too, and I was like shocked to not only remember my favourite games, but realise how bad a lot of the rest of the library was too. But great
also,
memory from
you've got
up.
a totally coked out Ultimate Warrior on the box art, so bonus point.
Warrior/Steamboat. It's a hybrid again. What's with all the hybrids today?
Here's the Darling Dude from Wrestling Superstars, a game published by Codemasters and released on the C64, ZX Spectrum, and Amstrad CPC. That's definitely Hulk Hogan, right? Blonde hair, yellow tights. I sense that you're not convinced. Well, check out the cassette cover.
That looks like if young Bruce Springsteen is doing his Hulk Hogan impersonation for a Halloween party or something.
Now, call me crazy, and yes, I do believe it's a bit of a stretch, but to me, that definitely looks like Hulk Hogan. Might need a second opinion, I do admit, but to my eyes, he resembles Hulk Hogan. If it weren't for the cover, you wouldn't be able to tell with the ZX Spectrum version. See, the good old Specky, a cornerstone of British home computers and a system I played around with when I was younger, wasn't exactly known for its colour capabilities. Most games had severe colour clash because the system wasn't able to display a lot of colours at one given time, so developers had to work around these limitations, though do keep in mind that the guys making games for these systems were mostly doing so in their bedrooms. I do have a soft spot for the ZX Spectrum. I still own one to this very day, though I didn't own Wrestling Superstars and I didn't get to Hulk up while telling my opponents it's time to die.
Yeah, ZX Spectrum was just like that little engine that could. No colours, 5 frames a second, but by gosh, you're going to play some games on it.
Tough Enough, known as Dead Dance in Japan, was released in 1993, and what we've got here is another fighting game from the boys and girls at Jellico.
Yeah, look, you know, Jellico was pretty good in the late 80s with some really good arcade and NES games like Shadow Hand, Astyanax. I loved Robo Warrior as well. And then once they started straying into the 16-bit era for me, it was kind of all over. The game started to become a bit trash. Not to say that there weren't some good ones, but overall I didn't like them as much.
There's a pro wrestler in the game known as Vorts, and I'm going to say that, yeah, this one, again, is a bit of a stretch. I think because he's wearing yellow and red, folks have defaulted into thinking he's a Hogan ripoff.
Nah, bro, see, look, dude, he's wearing yellow and red. That doesn't make him a Hulk Hogan ripoff. That just means he likes to wear a yellow and red outfit. There are plenty of people that go outside and wear yellow pants and red... Okay, you know what? No, they don't. But look, he don't look anything like Hulk Hogan, okay?
Vorts is from the Netherlands. He doesn't really look like Hulk, what with his lack of mustache and bald head. But I thought I'd include it so you could make your own mind up.
Yeah,
Tough Enough is another fighting
game
that tries to mimic the success of Street Fighter 2. You can do a whole lot worse, to be honest, but these games were a dime a dozen back in the 90s.
I'd rather play Tough Enough over World Heroes. Oh, okay.
I already covered Saturday Night Slam Masters on the channel, and I had fun playing the game along with its sequels when putting that video together. As soon as the first Slam Masters game boots up, you'll see Victor Ortega ripping off his shirt, but you can't actually play or fight Ortega in the original game. He did, however, serve as the final boss in Ring of Destruction. Capcom did take a bit more care in separating Ortega from Hulk Hogan, though the inspiration is very obvious. In the game's storyline, Ortega was the original founder and owner of the Capcom Wrestling Association, which means he had full creative control, brother.
Look, I'm not gonna lie. The fact that he ripped off his singlet, they're trying to be like, hey, look at me, I'm the Hogan of this game. But, you know, I'm kind of getting more fantasy vibes, you know, kind of like a Viking, Conan, sort of like Thor, sort of hybrid. I'm not really feeling Hulk Hogan. But you know what? I think him ripping his singlet off on the title screen was Capcom's way of making a statement, for sure.
But once he made everyone do the JOB, he decided to disappear and he didn't compete in the ring again, all while holding the CWA Championship belt. You can see that just like Hulk Hogan, Victor Ortega was not in the business of putting other people over.
Hammerlock Wrestling, eh?
Jellico brings us another game. This time it's Hammerlock Wrestling, which was released in 1994. They tried to get all fancy with this one by presenting players with 3 horizontal windows during gameplay, and this only benefits people who have 3 eyes.
Yeah, I think that would be way too distracting. I like that they've tried on a 16-bit system to get a whole cinematic thing going here. I appreciate when gaming companies and developers take risks, so I admire what they've tried to do here. And I'm not going to be harsh for that reason, otherwise people aren't going to want to try and innovate, right? But this was a colossal failure for sure.
Kurt Angle. Anyway, we've got Sam Warhammer here, who once again is a ginger version of the almighty Hulk Hogan. He may be missing the long flowing locks of the Hulkster, and he may have a full beard, but the yellow and red attire gives it away because, let me tell you something, Mean Gene, only a man trying to imitate Hulk Hogan would wear bright yellow tights. To give Jellico credit, the whole 3-window thing is very unique, and you've got some anime-esque animations going on when pulling off the most basic of wrestling moves. You gotta appreciate the effort that was made in terms of creating something very different in comparison to what was already out there.
Yeah, but you see, Hogan only ever did that drop kick in New Japan, right? But I just saw him do a classic body slam there. I mean, Hogan was doing body slams, so fair play. But look at this guy. Got a ginger beard there. I mean, okay, if he wasn't wearing red and yellow attire, he would look closer to Yosemite Sam or Sam Elliott than Hulk Hogan, I'm just saying.
But if Hammerlock Wrestling was a good game, folks would still be talking about it today, and as far as I'm aware, no one's talking about Hammerlock Wrestling today.
Yeah, it's a shame. Oh well, moving on. Oh, this is that karate game that was popular.
Not to be confused with the excellent martial arts film of the same name.
Oh, okay. Hang on.
Yes, it was excellent. Best of the Best was an arcade game released in 1994, and it's another 2D fighter. The game
Oh,
features
no.
a character named Hawk, and right here, ladies and gents, is what Hulk Hogan would look like if he didn't eat his vitamins and say his prayers.
Dude,
This
yeah,
is
it's
what
like
Hulk Hogan
Hogan
thinks
on
will
crack.
happen to his face if he does the job 2 times in a row. His character sprite features the long red Hogan tights. He's also got on a pair of sick custom wrestling boots, and folks have described Best of the Best as both horrible and hilarious, which is actually a very accurate take. The character sprites look bold and colourful, the backgrounds can be bizarre at times, gameplay is pretty broken, it's a complete mess, but you still have to play it just to appreciate its crappiness.
Didn't they have a Best of the Best game on NES and Super Nintendo that was completely different? It was like a kickboxing tournament game, like in an arena, kind of like the All Valley. I must be getting confused. Maybe they're completely separate. Hawk was also in Vendetta, and he looks like Hogan too.
Here's Rock Hawk from Paper Mario The Thousand Year Door. Rock Hawk may look like any other hard-ass Hawk who thinks he's all tough, but the Spanish version of The Thousand Year Door actually renames this guy to Hulk Hogan. Right at this very moment, the real Hulk Hogan's pausing the video and writing up a cease and desist letter to Nintendo. The Hawk's also a dirty cheater, and he gives Mario a poison cake just so he doesn't have to fight and potentially lose. So the Hulk Hogan similarities are huge right here.
Fair enough.
He does end up turning babyface, but he gets involved in some pretty controversial stuff when his so-called best mate records him getting it on with his wife. Crazy stuff and a terrible downfall for Hawk.
Yeah. It's cool that you got a Hogan character in a Mario game. Cool.
Finally, here's another game I've covered in the past, and if you've enjoyed
Looks like
looking at these
Sting.
Hulk Hogan clones, then I highly recommend to
Undertaker
check out
and
my
Sting,
video
that looks
on
like.
Royal Pro Wrestling, a game released for the 3DO that had a ton of WWF and WCW knockoff wrestlers. You've got Hogan here is Golden Lips.
That's Hogan.
He's wearing a Ripstar shirt, which is a nod to his No Holds Barred movie. And you've got other superb clones in this video, such as Andy Savage, The Man
Macho.
Called Skunk, and Rich Flair.
Yeah,
This
right.
one was also developed by Natsume, and I actually enjoyed it quite a bit.
I'll say what I find really cool about this game, because it was a non-licensed game, they very cleverly combined WWF and WCW superstars at the time all into one game and made them as close as they could to their counterparts to get away with it, if that makes sense. So to be able to play a game where you have a character that you obviously know is Hulk Hogan wrestle Sting, or Undertaker wrestle Sting, I think is really freaking cool, bro.
It's
Really
important
cool.
to please the crowd during career mode by changing things up, so it's got a little bit more variety than your standard match after match arcade mode. Do check out that Royal Pro Wrestling video though if you want to explore more rip-off characters.
Yeah, I'm gonna try that.
There's more Hogan clones out there and other wrestlers who've been copied more than once, including Ric Flair, The Ultimate Warrior, Giant Baba, the Road Warriors, which I'm sure you noticed in this video. Vader has been copied a few times. There's loads more out there, and it shows how popular wrestling was, particularly in Japan during.
You know what? We'll leave it there. But I want to thank Wrestling Virus once again for a great video. I appreciate it. And thank you for recommending this, Chris from Vegas, as well. Yeah, guys, I mean, he's got a point. There's plenty of other clones out there. If you recognize Hogan from any other games, let us know in the chat. But I appreciate you watching today, guys. See you on the next video. Take care, everybody.